Thank you all for joining us for this session. I have a very interesting and important panel, a group of ministers and representative from the from Panama Maritime Chambers, Rene, here with me. And I think this is a good combination to talk about the topic that we have, which is exploring oceans via the Blue Economy Framework. And we have been talking about oceans, the enormous opportunities that oceans create. But I think individual countries, particularly some of the smaller island nations, and the challenges that they face in balancing their economic aspirations with the challenges of coastal communities, with the challenges of regional maritime space cooperation, with the element of how to build domestic capacities. All of those issues are intertwined as we look at reimagining the global blue economy framework. And so I have the representatives from three countries that I would like to first go to and ask them to spell out for us, how, from a national policy framework perspective, how does it, how are you trying to balance the basic issues of sustainability, equity, and development? And I'll start with the minister from Liberia. Magdalene, if we can have your perspective from Liberia, because the challenges there are huge, and we know that you have been, Liberia as a country has been trying to integrate both national development frameworks with the regional challenges that you face post-conflict. So over to you, ma'am.
Good morning. Oh, well, for Liberia, we are a small country that is located on the west coast of Africa. And we are 300 miles off the coastal line of the Atlantic Ocean. We are also advancing growth in both economic diversity and environmental responsibilities. Most especially our fisheries, coastal and tourism, and maritime trade are the pillars of our livelihood in Liberia. However, we recognize the economic expansion, and we must come up at the expense of the marine biodiversity. To achieve all of these, we thought that the balance of Liberia is pursuing a sustainable blue economy, model and three key priorities. And these priorities that we have tried to strengthen has to be strengthening the coastal governance through science-based planning that harmonize economic use for environmental protection, that's one. And the second is promoting responsibility fishery practices. We realize that there are some rules that govern fisheries, but we try to strengthen them in that perspective. Monitoring of industries and activities, also supporting the value addition of the fisheries sector to empower our local SMEs, that is our local small and medium-sized enterprises, to see how we can strengthen them in the coastal communities. We are also investing in micro respiration, shoreline protection, and community-based adoption program that will safeguard the ecosystem and livelihood from the rising of the sea level to the coastal erosion. So we are a country that is strongly trying to strengthen the coastal line, trying to strengthen our local who depend on fisheries for livelihood and also depend on the community in such the sea rises. So by placing people, planet, and prosperity in these corners of our blue growth strategy, Liberia aims to ensure that marine resource development leads to an inclusive and sustainable outcome. So for us in Liberia, we strongly believe that strengthening our SMEs, that is our entrepreneurs, our small and medium-sized enterprises, will help us to move our country forward regarding the blue economy. So today we have come to talk about our little country, strong country, but it's little and it's also powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. Another small but beautiful and powerful country, to Mauritius. Sir, I think, as a Minister for Blue Economy, the vision for Mauritius, both in terms of harnessing oceanic resources, but also the challenges that are rising both from climate, which are some of them climate-induced, and of course some of them are related to illegal fishing and human trafficking and drug trafficking, all of those challenges that you face. What is for Mauritius, what is the national vision in terms of blue economy framework?
Before I reply to your question and highlight the merits of Mauritius as a small island developing state which has the ambition to become a big oceanic small state, let me have a special thought for our friends, brothers, and sisters from Jamaica who had the misfortune of being hit by one of the most violent cyclones. And we pray for their well-being, and we pray for prompt recovery. This highlights the vulnerability of small island developing state. And as a small island developing state, located in the Indian Ocean, and if I go back to history prior to Mauritius becoming a full-fledged independent state, when I was a kid, I won't tell you how many years back. But Mauritius was a mainstay and was cited as the country which commanded the sea and air routes between Australia, South Africa, Asia, and Europe. Those were the days, during the colonial days, when you could hardly see an airplane being flown and landed. But we have traveled a long way. And today, Mauritius, as a full-fledged independent country, has become a big oceanic small state, also in the light of the ruling given by the International Court of Justice and the massive vote we reaped at the UN General Assembly in relation to territorial integrity concerning Chagos Archipelago. So I won't be too optimistic, or should I say if I say it too much further, but it is fair for me to say that today, Mauritius has an exclusive economic zone, which is as big as the exclusive economic zone of India, 2.3 million square kilometers. Having said so, we have legitimate ambition. We want to have a green, if not a greener port. We want to have better bunkering facilities. But the blue economy is the oyster in relation to fisheries and aquaculture. And this holds a lot of promises in relation to export, and it's growing at 6.3% annually. In relation to tourism, ecotourism, and coastal tourism, and the premium we are putting on sustainability of our tourism sector. Maritime transport, and it's an opportunity not for countries like India, and I recall that the recent visit made by our Prime Minister, both Prime Ministers agreed that Mauritius and India, it's of a special bond. And we, in the words of the Prime Minister of Mauritius, we are constant friends. Now, and of course, notwithstanding massive investment that can be made to make the port green, if not greener, we are talking of transformation, reducing the carbon footprint, and investment that can flow in the ocean to harness renewable energy. I mean, these are our legitimate ambitions. We are there for the take, as we say. It's an opportunity which is knocking, notwithstanding that our government put a lot of premium on transparency, accountability. We have an economic development board, which has created the enabling environment for investment to flow. And as a small island developing state, which has this legitimate ambition, we need to build our human capacity. And the beautiful relationship we have with India and other like-minded countries has enabled us to walk the talk. But to walk the talk, we have also entered into an agreement with the European Union. And we have prepared a roadmap. And together with the World Bank, we have enlisted the services of a resource person to prepare a legislation on the relevance, importance of the blueprint, notwithstanding that we subscribe to all international conventions. And of course, we are having a fresh look at the Merchant Shipping Act and revisiting also issues which are relevant to our jurisdiction and beyond our jurisdiction. We have ratified the biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction, and this will give us a premium in relation to Saya de Mala, because Saya de Mala absorbs almost 50% of the carbon of the ocean. It is the Amazon of the Indian Ocean, of the Indian Ocean. And we are talking of seagrass, okay, which absorb the carbon emission. But at the same time, now that this convention has been ratified, we have the honors to take to task those who are involved in illegal fishing, especially those who will kill the sharks for the fins or for the meat. And this has to be stopped, notwithstanding issues which is raised in relation to waging war on IUU, illegal, unreported, and regulated fishing activities. And in respect of IUU, a small country like Mauritius, which is a member of SADC, we tend to lose more than 10 billion US dollars. Notwithstanding, of course, fisheries sector is a sector of $3 trillion. But having said so, we cluster as a member of African Union with all members of the African Union and regional bodies, Africa being a coastal continent, okay, and to put up a common front to wage war on IUU, on piracy, and you know this is behind us now because we work together with our friends from EU as member of what we call the RAPIC, but unfortunately, we all have to come together to wage war on drug trafficking and human trafficking. I think as a small island developing state, which has been in the vanguard of preaching and delivering on democratic values, we work with like-minded countries, and we need to build a coalition of parties to make sure that we deliver on promises made.
Minister, I'll come back to you on the Indian Ocean bit, because I think you mentioned the partnerships that you are involved in, and I think that would be something to explore. But I wanted to invite Minister from Antigua and Barbuda to talk a bit about your national vision and where it stands in terms of balancing competing priorities.
Well, I want to first thank the Minister as well for acknowledging what is happening in Caribbean islands such as Jamaica at the moment, and just the vulnerabilities that small island developing states that we face. But small island developing states like Antigua and Barbuda, we don't just see the ocean as a resource. The ocean is the backbone of our economy. The ocean contributes significantly to our main industry, which is tourism. The ocean also contributes to our food security through our fisheries, as well as the ocean contributes to our cultural heritage, just the recreational use of our ocean. And to reimagine the blue economy, it would have to be a case that we are seeing how we could have the potential growth of our economy through the ocean while also maintaining the health of our ocean. So in Antigua and Barbuda at the moment, we have been working to develop the Blue Economy Bill, which would help with the legal framework of what we're trying to do for the sustainable use of our blue economy. And in this bill, we are focusing on things like marine spatial planning, the climate resilient laws, ocean financing, etc. These are some of the things that we are focused on. But in Antigua and Barbuda and small island states, the heart of whatever we do in developing our economies, it must never come at the cost of the health of our ocean.
Rennie, you in some ways represent the other side of the equation here, and from that perspective. But I want to come to that element in a bit. But before that, in line with the conversations that we have had with the three representatives of the three countries, official representatives, I was wondering if you can touch a bit on the challenges that Panama is facing at the moment. In particular, you have a lot of climate-induced challenges, and that means that as a nation, Panama has to prepare itself for what may be coming in terms of reduced water levels, droughts, etc. How prepared as a nation Panama is at this point, and is this now the single most important policy challenge facing Panama as a nation?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. And I represent the Panama Maritime Chamber of Shipping in Panama, and we are mainly the private sector. And then we host the ports, the major ports, shipping lines, shipping agency, shipyards, tugboats, and ship repairs companies. But we are in very close relationship with the government as well. And then, as Panama, as you may know, that we are in the middle of the Americas and we are surrounded by two oceans, the Atlantic and the Pacific. And we have also the Gatun Lake. So actually, the blue economy for us is everything. We have to take care of it. And then the government actually is expanding the ports in the nearby the Panama Canal. Also, they're investing on more reservoirs for the water, for human consumption, and for the transit of the vessels in the canal, because we face the situation with the Nino effect in the 2023 and 2024 that we needed to, the Panama Canal needed to reduce the amount of transit and the draft for these vessels when they were crossing the canal. So actually, the climate change is a real situation for us, and we are tapping into it. As a private sector, we have determined that all this new infrastructure that we are developing, and Panama is going to invest $10 billion in the next 10 years in port infrastructure. And this new development, they have to face the three pillars for sustainability: economical one, environmental, and the social aspect. And for us, the maritime sector, we are entitled to the education aspect. That will be the social one. And we have been talking a lot with the universities and the academia that every port development, the university have to be first. They have to be 3 or 2 years before. So all this community, they know the value, the benefit out of this new development. So yes, we are facing a real scenario with the climate change, and we are taking care of it.
Thank you. For the next round, I would, we have touched upon the national perspectives on this, and I sort of wanted to broaden the scope of the conversation and bring in the regional and the global dimensions as well. Minister Magdalene, let me start with you in terms of the regional challenges that you face. I mean, is there there is a challenge in terms of the conflicts that have been part of your landscape, and as you prepare to move beyond that, do you have a regional framework in place at this point where you are working with partners both internally with different stakeholders, but also in the region in Western Africa, where perhaps as a community countries need to respond to some of these challenges?
Well, as we have said earlier, our country is a very small country, but also powerful with a lot of resources. But we try to see how we can tackle some of these challenges. And these challenges are so huge, but we look forward for partnership. We have been seeking partnership in terms of support. But we realize as a country, as small as we are, especially for our location on the west coast of Africa along the Atlantic Ocean, we believe especially that there's no one country, no small or big country can survive the blue growth in isolation. So we have tried to reach out, how to reach out to some of these countries to see how we can have some partnership with them. So we are advocating to seeing how we can have these partners to ask that we use the public-private sector to have some sustainable ocean investment. And what we do right now is to see how we can reach out there, to see how we can have these partners bringing forth investment that would bring some transformation to our country, give some job creation, give some innovation that people will feel the presence of a new trend. And looking at that, we as Liberians have tried to see how we can reach out, and including India. We have also discovered that there's a lot of prosperity into India. So we thought that we will reach out to India and many other countries to see how it will help us, in what way we can partner. And most often, we believe that partnership will drive away some of those challenges, will reduce the challenges to whatever level, but we strongly believe that it will actually be reduced. So we took three key approaches. One, we say we were combining funding, private investment, and the concession finance to reduce risks and attack investment in areas such as the ecotourism and sustainable ports and renewable marine energy. We try to see how we can reach out there to see how we can move investors or investments into whatever position we want to find them in, because we believe that having them on board or having them being a part or partnering with them will help us bring some transformation to our challenges. We're also exploring instruments that channel resources into projects and deliver both financial returns and measure ocean conservation benefits. So these are some of the things we are talking about to see how we can reach out there. And as you may be aware, finance have been an issue, partnership have been an issue, reaching out have been a real challenge, but we have tried to see how we can reach out to them, to some of these partners, to see how we can transform the lives of our people. So mainly, as we said earlier, no one country, whether big or small, can do this in isolation. You must be able to reach out to countries, you must be able to reach out to neighbors, you must be able to attack those who you feel can help in transforming your challenges into opportunities. And there are a lot of opportunities, but we want to see how we can work on that. There are also a lot of challenges, and we try to see how we can change those challenges into opportunities. And looking at those opportunities out there, being a small country, but very rich also, we try to see how we can navigate our way in making sure that some transformation can come in regarding that. So Liberia is a country that is seeking partnership, and we every time we speak, we talk about partnership. How do we reach out? How do we get others involved into our own situation, into all of these challenges? Challenges, I agree, there are many, but there are a lot of opportunities. And those opportunities are the ones that we actually want to focus on. How do we get to those opportunities? And how do we achieve from challenges to opportunities? Thank you.
Minister, from Mauritius' perspective, we have you touched upon it. Some of the partnerships that you are engaged with, and I think taking the conversation forward has been directed towards the communities in Africa, around Africa, coastal regions there. But one of the issues that has also come up in recent years, and a lot of the countries in the Indian Ocean have pointed it out, is that Indian Ocean region itself is also the institutionalization is very limited. And so the need for Indian Ocean region to sort of talk about and touch upon some of these challenges. You touched upon in your initial remarks about how Indian Ocean island states can contribute to that. How effective is regional frameworks? How effective are they in managing some of the challenges that you talked about, whether it is the fishing issues or the surveillance of EEZ, etc.?
Where there are challenges, there are also opportunities. But the unfortunate thing that challenges can be very daunting, and we have no choice but to cluster and to have the humility to say that if we want to move the process, we have to work together. Like many of the island states, Mauritius nurtured the ambition to be a global leader and to be a regional anchor in blue economy, relation to blue economy. But at the same time, we have to realize that we cannot punch above our weight. And we need to come together as a member of the African Union. African Union has set up a blue economic unit. So which means that that the sector has become very important. And as my friend was saying, the blue economy is life, livelihood, living, and lifestyle. Shipping may be shopping, but you cannot simply rely on shopping alone. We need to all to come together in relation to safety and security. Let me give you an example. We had the unfortunate wreck of the Wakashu, which went aground on coastal reef in Mauritius. And much to my surprise, the importance and definition of innocent passage was not taken on board. That is, there was gross violation by the captain, or probably he was not probably apprised. And yet we're also signatory to Convention of SOLAS, safety at sea. And when we talk of safety at sea, it means also mitigating pollution. And as a consequence of that wreck, more than 1,000 tons of fuel oil was spilled. And you know what it means to a country which put a lot of premium on maritime protected area? And if it were not for our friends in the region, France, and of course India, our friends from continental Africa, Seychelles, we all cluster to address this issue, and our people were mobilized. And we came together as one nation, as one people. I was in opposition, I was then leader of opposition in 2020, on the 25th of July when it happened. And I put several PNQs, of course, replied by the then Prime Minister and Minister responsible for fisheries. But we were caught off guard. And we need to have what we call, appropriate vessels. We have our port cannot be a port whose container index is low. So that's why, as a small island developing state, next to the African, to a big continent like Africa, which has now become a free trade agreement, and in relation to the presence of India in the region, which has a legitimate place in our hearts and in the Agalega, okay? That presence would put a lot of premium on it. And India also being part of the Quad, which does the monitoring and proper surveillance of health in relation to EZ, and to ward off threats. And since when it comes to cross-cutting issues, earlier I was talking of piracy, drug trafficking, and all that, we have to rely on trustworthy and reliable friends. Our friends from the African continent, from India, members of the Quad, France, Réunion Island. But one thing which is important also, you see, Mauritius and Seychelles, contrary to what is really happening because of conflict amongst neighbors and countries, we lodge a common case before before the United Nations under the UN Convention's Law of the Sea. And today, we have a common bond in relation to an extended continental shelf, which we share together and which we exploit in a sustainable manner. And this is regional cooperation. This is a cooperation at regional and international level. And I feel sorry that as of now, World Trade Organization, the power of World Trade Organization is shrinking. The power of IMO, unfortunately, is going through tantrums. I'm not going to say that, there are big waves happening, but we have to come together. And I'm saying it from the perspective of the small island developing state. I'm not trying to punch above anybody's weight, but the world has to come together and make the ocean our oyster. As my good friend has said, it is life, it is living, it is livelihood, and it is lifestyle. Do you imagine the potential of the sea to empower a nation, to empower the world? It's amazing. It's from here to eternity, and we say from ridge to reef and beyond national jurisdiction, miles to go for research and development, for investment. It's the oyster of the world, and we have to make it happen.
So, Minister Smith, just taking this conversation forward, one aspect of this, of course, is how are you managing regional cooperation in the Caribbean? But the other aspect, I think, which perhaps you may want to touch upon, is this whole issue of capacity building and human capital development at the heart of some of the initiatives that many of the countries under discussion should be undertaking, because that's how you also ensure sustainable, sustainable oceanic growth, if you will. So I think in terms of balancing this out, how do you envision both domestic capacity building but also regional capacity building in some of the issues that the Minister from Mauritius touched upon?
Yeah. Well, added to capacity building, one of the major challenges small island states we're faced with is we need easier access to financing to help us with the development of our blue economy. Countries must have access to financing, not just based on their climate vulnerabilities, not just because of the size of the country or their economies. So I think one of the things we really need help with as small developing states is access to global financing, where we could probably use blue carbon markets, the blue bonds, in which we can help to have and develop more resilient projects. But we also have to, as well, work on our partnerships globally and locally as well. But a truly blue economy, we will need a fair economy for all countries. We know the ocean is used as a bridge that connects us all. And for us in Antigua and Barbuda, capacity building is very high on our agenda. And I think one of our most proud achievements as the government is that we would have partnered with the University of the West Indies in Antigua and Barbuda, and we would have opened a center of excellence for oceanography, in which we could use to help to build out the capacity of our people. And as well, we think that it is very important as well for small island developing states to give a voice to youth and women in the sector of the blue economy. We think that that is very important. So again, in in Antigua and Barbuda. We continue to work on capacity building programs to improve our ocean literacy for our people. Again, as I would have stressed, the importance of the ocean to us as our livelihood, our cultural heritage. So, there's great opportunities in the blue economy, and we want to continue to see how we can tap into it, build partnerships, have access to financing, and as well, just to grow the blue economy sector.
Thank you. And as I take my last question to Rene, may I ask those of you who want to ask questions, if you can please join the queue. There are two, I think, mics there which you can use. In the last few minutes, I'll be taking a few questions. Rene, on the point that I think we have all touched upon indirectly, but from Panama's perspective, there are two issues. One is that we are increasingly talking about resilience, even in terms of alternative sea routes, right? So how is Panama preparing itself for alternatives that are emerging and that will inevitably emerge as the world goes through transition? And B, the geopolitics of it all. And a lot of it is happening, in your part of the geography at this point, where the biggest power there is looking at the region through a very distinct lens than it used to be. So again, in terms of preparedness, both in terms of the alternative routes as well as the larger geopolitical frameworks that are emerging, how prepared are you?
Okay, great question. From our side, Panama is growing fast. It's changing a lot, geopolitical side and also infrastructure. And also, we're facing at this moment that most of the port concessions are expiring or they have to be renewed. And the way that we have figured this out, or we are figuring this out in the future, is that we need to work together, the private and the public sector, and also the international partners, that they can assist us or assess us on the new way to build up those concessions for actually tapping those three pillars, economical, sustainable, environmental, and socially. So we are working towards that. In the private sector, what we're doing is that all the ports are getting electrified, their cranes. And on this new consultancy that they had identified the ports, how they can provide shore power to these vessels in order to turn off the engines, we figure out, the private sector, that we needed to change the policies. Because and also the public infrastructure to provide this electricity to the vessels. At the moment we don't have that infrastructure established nearby the ports. So actually the private sector will have to invest. But for that you need to change the regulations or the law, and that's how we integrate with the public sector, because the port will provide the energy to the vessel, but we have to have a win-and-win situation. The government have to win, the electric company also have to win, and the port facility have to win. And the most important is the community. The community have to win because some of those areas, they don't have the basic public means as electricity, water, and all other aspects, internet. So if we can tap in to collaborate with each other, we can get better on that. And on the public side, the Panama Canal is investing in 10 new tugboats that they will be hybrid in order to be able to reduce their footprint. Since Panama is a carbon neutral country, one of the few, that means that we absorb more than what we produce on the carbon. We wanted to keep it that way. So the Panama Canal is investing on the net zero slot. That means that the vessels that are transiting the canal and they have another fuel alternative that is greener, they will have a priority on a new slot for reservation. And that's a really interesting way how the market can push forward for that, I would say, decarbonization on the vessels. So we are facing many tensions or I would say different things that are changing. But Panama, we are facing our internal situation of the climate change, and we have faced it a few years ago. And we need to actually work towards that in order to keep the country efficient and keep it carbon neutral.
And for the time being, you have mollified Mr. Trump, so that's good news. Yes, so let me start from here. The lady here. If you can tell us if the question is directed to anyone, right?
Yeah, it is dedicated to ma'am. So, namaskar everyone. My name is Kashmira. First of all, it was a good hearing all of you. My question is to ma'am specifically. Liberia is a country that has a history of strong women. Women played an important role in the peace building efforts during the Civil War. There was an effort through the WIPNet as well. So women play an important role in blue economy as well. So are there any policy measures, any initiative from the government? You yourself being the Minister of Commerce as a woman. So are there any initiatives, any policy mechanisms to encourage women in blue economy?
Okay, we'll take one more question and then I'll come to you, ma'am. Yes, the gentleman there.
Good morning, sir. My name is Abhimanyu Amarkant from Wilson College. I'm a final year student of political science. My question was to the entire panel that we see that more often than not in global frameworks, the global powers which hold the economic leverage tend to not invest in smaller countries unless they have their own incentive. But as this framework is decentralizing and regional cooperation is emerging, how do small island developing states and other coastal nations ensure they incentivize investment and make sure that the deals which are signed in a regional level are truly bilateral in nature and prevent regional hegemons from taking the place of global hegemons? Thank you.
Ma'am, if I can. Please go ahead.
For Liberia, women are special people. Women's empowerment has a great line when it comes to the upliftment of our country. Liberia has had the first female president of Africa. That is from our former president, Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Liberia has a lot of women that have pushed in terms of peace, have pushed in terms of special recognition of women, especially girls, because we believe that strengthening a girl, you have developed a nation. So Liberia has been trying to see how we can strengthen what our former president has left behind. And presently, our present president has appointed a lot of women in authority. And I'm having to be one who has to be the Minister of Commerce and Industry. We also have the Minister of Education. She's also a lady. We have the Minister of Gender, also a lady. We have the Minister of Defense, also a lady. So Liberia sees women as a great opportunity to transforming a country. Regarding the peacekeeping, women play a major role in terms of our civil war. We sat at a particular position for which we all are a part in making sure that our voices are heard and transformation needs to come. We said to other countries like Ghana and other areas, we went and said, there's a need for peace. And the women took the lead. The women said, we must have our children go back to school. We must have our husband go back to job. We must have a peaceful environment to live. And going forward, other countries saw the need and said that the women have spoken. And the women, for us women, we have a voice. And that voice must be heard. If you are not heard, you got to make them know that your voice must be heard. And in Liberia, that's why we push women's empowerment, women's priority. What do? Is to make sure that we train up a girl. We go into a community, have girls who are smart, who are urging or longing for help. We try to see how we can bring them on the surface and make them know that if you train a girl, you have trained a nation. If you support a girl, you have supported a nation. If you supported a woman, you have brought transformation likewise. So we are in Liberia, the women's empowerment is a bedrock. It's something that every man, every woman, every girl, every boy sees it as an opportunity. So women have a voice in Liberia, especially when it comes to empowerment and it comes to peacekeeping.
Yeah, geopolitical issue can be very sensitive, but notwithstanding sensitiveness, countries have to thrive because they don't live on thin air. And I'm grateful to India with its politics of Sagar, to convey strong message that the Indian Ocean has to be an ocean free from any threats, free from any what we call geopolitical inconveniences. I won't elaborate, but what is true between Mauritius and India is equally true for other like-minded countries. Now, having said so, I've highlighted earlier the relevance and importance of ocean economy to small island developing states. And this beautiful relationship is also one that we share with the European Union. But what a small island developing state like Mauritius asks is fairness and justice for all and sharing of resources for the betterment of everyone.
It is showing me my time is up, but I'll give you an opportunity, and I think one question here. So very briefly, if you can ask your question quickly.
Very good morning to everyone. My name is Naveen Acharya. So my question is to Mauritius. So as India and Mauritius are having a very strong collaboration beyond security, which include infra and private-led initiatives as well, how can this partnership better integrate climate resilience and sustainable practices so both nations not only protect their oceans but also pioneer the green technology initiatives?
Last question from you. Yeah.
Good morning to everyone. My name is Alves. I'm from Mozambique. And my question is directed to Mr. Anthony, but I think the entire panel could take it. What we see is that in many developing countries, maritime governance is scattered across multiple ministries. If you allow me, I would give an example from my own country where we have, for instance, the Ministry of Agriculture, Environment and Fisheries. We have also the Ministry of Mineral Resources. We have also a Ministry of Transport and Logistics. And quite often this creates an overlap and policy incoherence. So I'd like to hear from you what governance reforms do you think would be needed to align maritime governance under coherent national blue economy policy? Thank you.
So I'll come to you for the answer to that question, and I think Mr. There.
Yes. You see, I've stated it, and I will reinforce what I've stated in relation to our binding relationship with India. And we are, I would say, small Bharat, but the relationship is binding because of transfer of technology, because of investment in research and development. And we both face daunting challenges, but for investment in research, we are going to address forcefully and meaningfully issues like green economy. And the know-how being transferred to Mauritius is of prime and relevant importance. For example, Indian oil is in Mauritius in relation to bunkering. We are going to make our port greener. And one of the things that we are considering is gasification of bagasse, because we are a cane-producing country also. India has set up 14 hydrogen hubs, and we have to combine our resources and see to it and put our best endeavor to be in the forefront in relation to carbon, reduction of carbon footprint, but at the same time to make the world greener and for better prosperity, and to take on board the interests of those who are born today and those who are growing, because we want to have a country which is very much in the forefront of green and blue economy?
Minister Smith.
Thank you for that question. And I would say it depends on what context, because sometimes large portfolios, they could actually overlap and actually help each other. I'll use myself as an example. I'm the Minister of Agriculture, I'm the Minister of Lands, I'm the Minister of Fisheries, and I'm the Minister of Blue Economy. But when you look at the overall ministry, they actually complement each other quite well. As the Minister of Agriculture, you need lands to be able to move the agriculture sector forward. As the Minister of Fisheries, the blue economy is the lifeline of your fisheries. So again, they can complement each other very well. But what we've been doing in Antigua and Barbuda, ministers with large portfolios, we have actually been appointing junior ministers to assist ministers with large portfolios. You may not be you may not have all the power of the actual minister, but you have enough power that you can go and advocate and you can develop policies. So again, I think it depends on what context you look at it in, because ministries, large portfolios can actually overlap and help each other in developing the policies.
Thank you, and I'm so sorry I can't take any more questions. We are completely run out of time, but let me thank all the panelists for their excellent presentations and for excellent questions and the way you raised some essential questions which I think the panelists were able to effectively address. There were many more questions, but please mingle with them and ask them. On that note, let me thank all of you, all the ministers here, and Renee, for giving us a ringside view of what the small island developing countries are going through and how some of the capacity building issues and extra-regional partnerships are going to shape the nature of the blue economy frameworks that will come our way. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists. If I could request you all to join us at the front of the stage for a group photograph, please.